Ryan, now all of a sudden these people's rents are going up, and now they call you to figure out how they can fix their home price, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, I have investment properties as well, and that's exactly what happens when we're in a market like this is renters seeing it as an opportunity as well as to increase the rents because you just want to keep up with the markets, and landlords are very aware of the changes that are happening, so they're increasing rents too. So inevitably, it just it drives people in this kind of market to make a decision. Are they going to buy now or are they going to wait? And they really just have to understand the facts about the market or the reality of what's happening in the market so they can make the best decision moving forward.
Yeah, well, you actually talked before we came on about, trying to time this whole thing. And so many people have been afraid of buying a home. Well, house prices have gone up too fast. Oh, now rates are up too fast. But the reality is, and the element of needing shelter, needing a home that is not a lean-to, means that
back to the lean-to thing again?
Lean-to. But that isn't
it's
means
been a couple months on that.
If you want to do, even an apartment's going to go up in price. So, renting doesn't necessarily mean you're going to save money. It may be buying that actually saves you money.
And at the end of the day, and it's not my job, it's not Becky's job to tell people when's the right time to buy, now or wait or anything else. I think the best advice we can always give to buyers is understand the facts, really analyze your situation and decide, hey, is now the best time for me to buy based on where the market is today and where it's going to, or does it make sense to wait? And just understanding that and putting your own financial twist on it and your own kind of certain personal life situation and whatever circumstances you're currently in will dictate if it is the right time for you or not.
When you work with first-time home buyers, I feel like the rent versus own comparison for a while kind of went out the window. And now it seems to be a really good comparison because, when house prices were really depressed and rates were really low and rents didn't seem to be going anywhere, that whole analysis didn't seem to hold as much weight. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, you have rising rents, you have increasing real estate costs, mortgage rates that have continued to fluctuate. That analysis really it makes a big comeback, I feel like, in this type of market.
It really does. And if you sit down, especially on the mortgage side, if you sit down and you go through the numbers, okay, and you really take a close, honest look of what you're paying for rents now and where they're going to continue to increase to over the next couple of years, 5 to 10% increase minimum moving forward, especially if you're in the core, and then you look at where interest rates are today. But more specifically, you really have to take a good look of where interest rates were a month ago, where they are today, and what most experts believe they're going to be in the next 12 to 24 months. And you have to take into effect that what most people believe as far as appreciation over the next 12 to 24 months as well, where, taking the same analysis, not a day-to-day perspective, but also, over the next 6, 12, 24 months and say, okay, this is where it could be. Every day I'm pricing myself out of the market in the areas I want to live. And that's okay if you understand that maybe you're going to be going out to some of these areas like Snoqualmie Ridge or different areas.
You want to leave Ben's bubble.
Ben's bubble.
Leave the bubble.
Which is okay, there's a lot of hidden gems out there that you can find great neighborhoods and great properties and actually can be a blessing in disguise. But just knowing your knowing your reality so you can make the best decision for you and your family really is the key. And one of the things that I see that holds people back a lot, and I had 2 conversations exactly like this yesterday, is they said, I want to save up more money to get to 20%. Okay, great. Eliminate mortgage insurance. But the reality is mortgage insurance is really, if you put 10% down and you have good credit, mortgage insurance is not very expensive. And you can actually eliminate mortgage insurance once you can prove that you have 20%. So the point of waiting for that one, if that's your number one motivation for waiting, you just look at the facts and know, like, hey, that's actually not that bad. I can buy now, and it is the best way to go.
Sure. Well, and then, of course, if you look at then the amount of time it might take to save that 10%, and now all of a sudden you look at rising rents, now that, your rents go up, now you can't save that money as fast. And now you've put yourself in a position where maybe rates are up, you can't save the money, and your rents are up. It seems to me like right now, in the face of maybe fear, action is a really good move.
And so you mentioned the rent versus buy scenario in which, 7-8 years ago, that was a huge kind of...
It was huge.
That was a huge number we evaluated with potential buyers. And you're kind of getting to that point is Yeah, that is one factor, but you have to look at that factor you just mentioned, which is that increased interest rates and increased purchase price. And that's literally, I talked to a guy yesterday. I said, okay, this is great. You're looking for $400,000 to $500,000 homes in the Kirkland Bellevue area. Wow. Who isn't looking for $400,000 to $500,000 homes?
Right.
So that's always going to be a competitive place to be. And so you're waiting for 20% down simply for mortgage insurance reasons. Okay. But if you wait 8 to 12 months, that $400,000 house is now $450,000
at current market rates.
Yeah, if you look at just where the market's trending to, yeah. I mean, at minimum, so now it's $400,000 to $450,000. Now you have rates at 4.5 to 5.5 to 6, which is kind of the writings on the wall for that. And so it's not just rent versus buy; it's buy versus buy later. And looking at a chart to compare where things were a couple months ago, where things are today, and where things are likely to be in the future. And that is where you have to make that decision and say, and you can throw in the rent analysis in there as well, because the reality is if you wait, you're going to keep pricing yourself on the market, and then maybe you'll never end up buying. Then you're going to be actually forced into this rent versus buy position again. So it's kind of, we're adding an element into it that we didn't add 5 years ago.
Ryan Leopold joins us with Cobalt Mortgage. Ryan, so when people are coming and having these types of discussions, like we talked about, this is something, these rent versus buy scenarios were really popular 7 years ago. Nobody's really been looking at those numbers over the past 7 years. Now you're adding another element. What we've also seen a lot of what has happened in the past is when people will get overwhelmed with so many decisions. Should I rent? Should I buy? Should I do this? Should I do this? And the numbers start being presented. Sometimes it's hard for them to also act. It's hard for them to make a decision because all of a sudden it's, oh my goodness, it becomes very real. And I think also many people just want the house. Do you tend to see, the dream of home ownership and the sexiness of I own a home or whatnot versus sometimes looking at the numbers? It's two very different types of maybe home buyers that are gauging those types of numbers versus just wanting a house.
I think that's fair to say, but I think it's also fair to say that everybody's personalities are so different that some people make their decisions all based on numbers and the emotion is on the lower side of things. There's other people that are all about the emotion of the buy and the feel and the neighborhood and everything else, that the numbers are, I just make sure I qualify. So everybody's a little bit different. And really our jobs as professionals is to look at that and analyze it based on what's most important to them and weigh it heavily on that side. So everybody's a little bit different on that. So it's just managing to that personality, I guess is fair to say. Since
rates have gone up now, do you see people taking more action or less action over the last 30 days?
Good question. 50-50. Okay.
I keep getting that answer. I want this to swing one way or the other.
I'll answer it two ways then,
okay,
definitively. The people that were on the fence before are still on the fence because they're always waiting for something. The on the fence people want to go back to the point where it was a buyer's market. Okay. The on the fence people want to go back to when interest rates were 3.5%. They're going to keep being on the fence. Okay. The people that were ready to go and are ready to take action are going to take action faster because they realize, oh my gosh, we just lost the 3.5%. I don't want to now lose 4.5%. So I think it's completely two different sides of the equation that we're dealing with.
Yeah, and that market timing for people who tend to be on the fence, and people know who they are. There are fence sitters on everything. In fact, I had a conversation the other day about Seattle being the most fence-sitting people, I think, in the world. Like, you get an Evite. You can't even get people to commit to an Evite. And if you send one out, you actually see on the Evite that people have viewed it. And people in Seattle cannot even click yes, no, or maybe. People can't commit to maybe, let alone buying a house. How many times have you been like, hey guys, you want to go do something? Yeah, I think I want to go do that. And nobody will commit. It's a very non-committal friggin' city.
And then you have kids, and you have a great excuse not to show up to things you committed to.
Right.
It's even better.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other story. But, I think we've talked about, the passive aggressiveness of people in Seattle. I think there's a lack of the ability to commit. And so there's a lot of fence sitters here where I think other people in other parts of the country are a little bit more apt to just make a decision.
Assertive, yes. Yes. Non-assertive. Home buyers in this market definitely... the majority are fence sitters that I've seen, and there's a very few that are very committed. I am buying here's my timeline for buying, and I'm going to find it.
But a lot of those people are coming from other parts of the country.
True.
It's the people who are coming in from Amazon, like, yes, I'm going to buy a house. Okay, let's go find one. And then I feel like that there has been a lot of the import, the people who are moving into the city are beating out a lot of the people who already lived here because they're just not quite ready to click yes on the friggin' Evite.
Probably true.